Hello and welcome to the Data Engineering Podcast, the show about modern data infrastructure. You can go to dataengineeringpodcast.com to subscribe to the show, sign up for the newsletter, read the show notes, and get in touch. To help other people find the show, you can leave a review on iTunes or Google Play Music and share it on social media and tell your friends and coworkers. I'm your host, Tobias Macy, and I'd like to introduce a new podcast that I'm starting called the Data Engineering Podcast. A little bit of background about myself. I started off as a systems administrator and moved up through to being a full-time software engineer for a while. Now I'm working across those boundaries as a DevOps engineer, and I have a strong focus on automation and all things. I've also done a fair bit of data engineering myself. I also currently host another podcast called Podcast.init, which is about the Python programming language and its community. So I first got involved in data management through my work as a systems administrator, just managing databases and data pipelines through various different systems. And in my next role, I did a fair bit of data analysis and data management for a company that received a lot of data from a distributed sensor network. And so debugging the issues with those sensors and making sure that there was adequate reporting data available to be able to report on the accuracy of those sensors, etc. I've had an interest in the data management and data engineering space for a while, as well as data science. And I've noticed that there are a lot of different podcasts available for data science as a discipline, but there aren't any that are dedicated to data engineering and data infrastructure, which is a similar situation that I found myself in with Python, where I was a big fan of the Python programming language and its community, but there weren't any podcasts that focused on that particular market. So in this case, I decided to start a new podcast about data engineering, and it's an interesting area that's got a lot of activity, and there's been a lot of growth in the idea of data engineering and data infrastructure. And so as far as the kind of subject area that I want to cover with this podcast, I'm interested in covering things like databases and data storage, data pipelines and management, some of the different tooling that is useful and important for the discipline of data engineering. I also like to focus on automation, both in terms of data automation as far as collecting and aggregating it and processing it, but also automation of the underlying infrastructure, monitoring of data pipelines so that you can be sure that the proper processes are taking place, as well as testing of those data pipelines so that you can be sure as you roll out changes that you're not going to end up with bad data at the end of it. I also want to cover some of the different best practices that are evolving in the space, some of the common challenges that are faced by practitioners, and also working on trying to help define what it actually means to be a data engineer and some of the challenges associated with finding jobs in that particular space because it is such an evolving area of technology. Another subject that I think would be interesting to cover is some of the relationship with data engineers and data scientists and what that working relationship looks like. So if this is something that you're interested in, then I suggest you subscribe to the feed because there are going to be a number of interesting episodes. I've already been speaking with a few different people, including some of the folks from Pachyderm, Maxime Bushman from Airbnb. I've got an episode about the Dask distributed environment coming up. So go to the site, subscribe to the show, sign up for the newsletter, follow me on Twitter, or send me an email. All of those links are going to be on the site. So thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to having you back soon.